Shalom everyone, and Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov. We're in the month of Kislev, just started the month. And what does VaYetse Yaakov miBe'er Sheva, what is this story about our life today, and what's the connection to the month of Kislev, to the month of Sagittarius? So here the parsha is starting, VaYetse Yaakov miBe'er Sheva vayelech Harana. And Yaakov got out of Be'er Sheva and he walked to Haran, or towards Haran. Now what does that mean? Rashi, the great commentator from the 11th century, he says, and he was a great Kabbalist, but he gives us the hints because in his time he was not, and also not everybody should know what the story is about because not everybody is ready for that. You know, kids or grown-ups that are not ready mentally. Now, VaYetse Yaakov, the question is, VaYetse Yaakov, and Yaakov got out of Haran, of Be'er Sheva, and he walked to Haran. Okay? Rashi says, why? Because the previous psukim, the previous verses, we spoke about Yaakov was sent to Haran by his father and mother because on the outside it was so he marries somebody from the family, not like Esau, who married outside the family and married some of the Canaanites. Then there's a break, and there are a few verses that Esau, he saw this, his father and mother don't like his wife, so he took as a wife the daughter of Ishmael. Okay? And then VaYetse Yaakov miBe'er Sheva, the simple explanation is that we coming back to the story. Now what about Yaakov? He left Be'er Sheva. That's for the simple way. Rashi usually, if he wants us to know much better, he just takes us one level above. And he says, לא היה צריך לכתוב אלא וילך יעקב חרנה. Rashi says, ולמה הזכיר יציאתו? Says, there was no need to write that he left Be'er Sheva, because if he went to Haran, we know obviously that he went to Be'er Sheva. He went out of Be'er Sheva. There is no need, Rashi says. So why does Rashi say? Is he criticizing the Torah? Does he criticize the creator who created the Torah? Or he just wants us to know there's something deeper than that, something much more important. And that's the topic of our week, which is called Parashat VaYetse. VaYetse, and he got out. Which means, of course, if Yaakov went to Haran, which is in Turkey, he had to get out of Be'er Sheva. That's obvious. So why, if it's redundant and obvious, why do you have to write it down? Rashi says there's no need, unless you want to say something much deeper than that. Okay, and what is that you want to say? So as we said in previous parashot, I just want to add, okay, which is very important for us to understand and to be aware of. The Torah is not history. The Torah is not religion. The Torah is giving us tools for life. And now, since the new year started and the Torah says that a new year, it means that everything can be looked at in a different and more positive way. It's time that you grow up. That's what the Torah is saying. It's time that you are aware to a higher level. That's it. But if you want to walk the walk and talk the talk, you have to know the rules. And the rules are starting with, as we said in previous weeks, Abraham is chesed, loving kindness, which means how do you start the day? How do you start anything in your life? Start with chesed, start with giving. You open a new store, a new customer is coming in, you don't say, give me your money. You say, how can I help you? Right? How can I help you? Because, you want to meet somebody. Let's say that is you're dating. Okay, you're looking for a soulmate. Okay, you meet the first time you meet the person, you don't say, I want you to do this for me and this for me, this, right? It's like you start with a smile. You start with trying to be nice to the person. You start by giving grace and compassion. That's how you start any relationship. That's a start. That's why he says start with the right foot. What does it mean? If I enter the house with the left foot, it's a bad omen? No, it's not. The right foot, it means the right side. Start with giving. Start with sharing. Start with the consciousness that the world Olam chesed yibaneh. You start building the world on chesed, loving kindness. That's how it is. This is Abraham. Okay? Isaac, this is Gvura, which means you cannot just be loving everybody. Just, I love everyone. Everybody's so sweet. Everybody's so great. Whatever they say, they're so righteous. And this is hypocrisy or stupidity. Okay? You need to have a healthy judgment because somebody approaches you. You have to make a judgment. What do they need? What is that they want? What can I give them? And how can we have a relationship? Which means judgment means that I have to make a judgment about who is the person and what is that I can create in order to create a relationship. And as Rabbi Ashlag is saying, if my little son says, Daddy, I have an itch in my eye, and you have those really sharp scissors, give it to me, I want to scratch my eye. And you say, no, you can't. No, you can't. Says, what kind of a dad is that you don't give me everything? I don't give it to you because it's going to make you blind. Which means if you love your child, if you love other people, sometimes the best way to say no. And that you need judgment. And judgment means love without judgment is judgment. And judgment without love is judgment. Right? You need to balance the sharing and caring with the judgment. That's it. And what's the balance? Here comes a big secret. We started to learn about it last week, and that's Yaakov. Yaakov is the central column. And I know I did it many times. Everybody can do it to himself. Take your finger and put it in front of your nose. And look with only one eye. And then close that eye, open the other eye. Okay? Now switch the eyes. Right, left, right, left. What do you see? Each eye sees a different picture. Now look with both eyes. I hope you see only one finger. Which means, how come your two eyes are not arguing who's right and who's wrong? And the answer is that seeing 3D means being able to merge and to synthesize two pictures into one wholesome picture. Which means that's life. Same thing when you walk with both feet, right? However, as long as you're sober, you're walking with right, left, but you're walking straight. When does that change? When you're not sober, when you're drunk. That one happens. Then when you walk with the right, you go all the way to the right. You walk with the left, all the way to the left. And what happens is like you're in zigzag. And that's why when a policeman thinks that you might be drunk, he tells you to get out of the car and walk on the white line. And if you're drunk, you can't walk straight. Why? Because your brain cannot merge the right and the left. And when it's right all the way. When it's left all the way. Same thing over here, but that is something that we have to learn. When people think that you should be only loving, or should be only judgment, it's like, the rules have to be kept, the rules of and no emotions over here, just the rules. That's being drunk. That's being drunk. Being sober in everyday's life, doesn't matter if it's your wife or husband or your children or customers or your boss or anyone else. Measure both forces together. And this is tough. This is tough to learn because this is what Jacob brings to the world. What does Jacob bring to the world? He brings to the world a wholesome picture of what is the ability of the person to see beyond the physical, mundane, limited consciousness. Or let's say logic. The logic that is good for nothing. The logic that you are right and you're wrong. You're right according to your logic, and life doesn't go. Things don't go. You don't understand why. I just did everything what I was told in school, family, whatever. When you go only with chesed, with love, you'll make mistakes all the way. When you go only with judgment, you make mistakes all the way. You have to do something that is illogical. You have to, on the same time, love somebody and at the same time be judgmental. People don't know how to do that. You have to be judge somebody and at the same time love that person. How do we do that? It's like breathing while you're breathing in, while you're breathing out. Breathing out while you're breathing in. It's like, no, but that's very simple. A successful business gives very good service and still takes enough money to make a living, to be comfortable, so you can be there next day, next month, next year to help the customers. Which means you make money and at the same time you make people happy. Is that crazy? No, that's called success. That's called success. How do people do that? Because it seems to be that most people don't know how to do that. It's, people say it's called win-lose. How do you do win-win? And for that, Rav Ashlag is teaching us that that's basically the whole Torah is about it. The whole Torah is teaching it. And what does it mean? Let me explain. A lot of people think that life's goal has one goal, which means to get by. It means if you lived your life, you didn't mess up with troubles, you stayed out of trouble, you made a living, you raised your kids, you just somehow you didn't get out of trouble and you managed to be okay and you're being comfortable, which means you're okay. And if you're religious, so you did also the mitzvot. You did a mitzvot, which means you have a list. You have to do this. You have to eat kosher. You have to do this mitzvah. You have to do that mitzvah. You have to give charity. You have to give maaser, keep Shabbat, whatever. If you just did that, you die. You go to heaven because you get by. You just, you cross over all the. So people are asking, I just try to be a normal human being. Why is it that it's so hard to become a normal human being? So hard. You try just to be okay. And life is like, this wave is coming from here, this wave is coming from here. It's like almost impossible to stay sober. Because if you're walking straight, something hits you from the right, and then you walk to the left. You try to walk straight again, something comes from the left, bangs you, and then you go to the right. And it's like you have no idea. Well, why can't I just be peaceful? Why life can't be easy and simple? And the answer is, because it's not the purpose of life. You want to live like a cow. It gets up in the morning, goes to grazes, chews up its cud, and then, gives some milk in the morning, and it's okay. And you get by. It's very easy to be a cow. Some people who look at the cows, or sometimes they're a dog. It's like, so, I'm so envious. They have such simple life. Right? We're humans. We're not supposed to have it simple. Not just that we're not supposed to have it simple, we're not supposed to have it logical. And whoever lived a life knows that whatever you think is logical, it has a expiration date on it. The problem is you don't know what's the date. But sooner or later, a month, a year, 5 years, whatever, you're going to find out, it was a big mistake. How come I could even think like this, right? I was so childish, I was so naive, I was so angry, I was so that. I didn't have any idea what I'm doing. So there's a Talmud, or Midrash, let's say, be more precise. There's a Midrash. It's a Midrash in Midrash on Mishlei, Perek Yud, chapter 10. And it says over there, when a person dies, he goes up there and he's being asked, were you being honest? Where you been this, where you been this, all the stuff we know. But then when it says that you've been all of that, and you studied everything, then God is saying, so did you see my chariot? Did you enjoy from the creation? And if you did not, you abused my creation, because who did I do it for? Mm-hmm. Not for you. Who was it for? It was for you. Which means God says, I created magic. I created universes upon universes of magic. For whom? For you to enjoy it. And the Midrash says, you know what's Gmilut Chasadim? Really charity? Charity is when people are happy, and not just for mundane things. They are happy because they enjoy the wisdom of the creation beyond the five senses and beyond logic. Why is it charity? Because you're doing chesed to the Creator. Finally, you enjoy and you reach your full potential like the Creator created you for. Let's get an example. Let's say you're your parents' child. And your parents, you're a child, and you think that you should, in order to be okay, you should do this and this and this and this. But, your parents are a little bit smarter. You don't think so, especially if you're a kid today. You always think you're smarter than your parents. Okay, but this is what your culture is about, that you are on the peak and your parents are like, they're past, they're expired already. Okay? Your job is basically to be a carnivore, to consume everything your parents left behind and to enjoy life. But the question about enjoying life is, when I'm saying your parents, they see what you're supposed to achieve, and your expectations from yourself are very small because you're narrow vision, because you're a kid, you're a baby. You can't see that. So when you think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and your parents say, okay, but they know you're supposed to achieve much bigger goals than you think. You know what? When in grade 1, there's no way to explain to you how tough it could be in the 12th grade, right? Or at college, university, PhD, doing your postdoctorate degree. All of this stuff, when you're grade 1, you can't be explained what does it mean. Can't explain what does when you play, mommy and daddy, but you don't really know what does it take. But when you finally assume position and you take responsibility and you have a life that is full with excitement and responsibility and hard work, and your parents look at you and they're like, thank God, now I have nachas, right? Not everybody gets there. But you know what I mean. So think about the Creator himself who created us. He didn't create us just to get by. He didn't create us just to live, just not to get in trouble, to stay out of trouble. This is not the purpose of creation. He created us to enjoy universes upon universes upon universes. That's what the Midrash in Mishlei is saying. And we do not achieve that. It's like this little baby who doesn't get it. That life is not just about that, these kids, they eat only, French fries and meatballs. Nothing else. Whatever they be, you bring them to the most chef restaurant. No, this is disgusting. I don't eat that. You don't know what's good. Oh, guys, how could you eat that? Hopefully, these kids grow up and start to develop a taste. Meanwhile, whatever they can enjoy is something with, if you're American, something with a lot of ketchup, which hides all taste. Horrible, right? And that's it. French fries and something. Schnitzel. Okay, that's what it is. And your parents are saying, let's say your parents are great chefs, and they, kings, and people come from all over the world to eat, and no, I just ate my French fries with ketchup, right? How does that sound like? This is disgusting. It's an insult. It's an insult. Same thing. The Creator did not create this universe for us just to get by, to have a nice, easy, not complicated life. He created us to enjoy the creation. And we need to do that. However, the creation is huge. The joy is beyond huge. It's endless. Says Rav Ashlag, so we have a problem. You have a life and you have a work in that life. And you invest a lot of work to have a decent life. Still, Rav Ashlag says, you work 70, 80, 90 years to have a decent life. Everybody knows it's not easy to keep a decent family, a united family, a decent job. Just this is hard work. Hard work. And what do you get in return? After you die, you go to heaven and you're supposed to get the endless that the universe created for you. And Rabbi Shlomo said, are you crazy? It's like there's no relativity between the hard work you work in 70, 80 years and the endless. It's like you help somebody to lift a little package, he gives you $1 million in return. There's no relation between the effort and the return and the salary. And Rav Ashlag is saying even 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes, you're still not solving the problem, because you are not solving the problem that you get eternity for something that is worthless. Why? It's limited in time and space. It doesn't matter how much you think you suffered, and you worked hard for that. So 70 years will help, not even 700 years. Not even 7,000 years. So what's the solution? So Rav Ashlag is saying the answer is always outside of the box. The Creator gave us, in order to earn the endless, He gave us Esav. Esav is our evil inclination. This is the opponent. This is the dark side that all of us have. And we have the dark side so we can earn the endless. How? When we overcome selfishness, when we overcome negativity, when we overcome all of this false vision of this world, how do we do that? When we learn to create the synergy, the synthesis between loving others and at the same time being judgmental, which means you cannot be a father or a mother or a teacher or a boss or whatever. When a person says, I need that, you should judge how much they want and how much they really need. And that's how you help them. And the same thing. So when you say no, you can do it with love. And when you say yes, you can do it with love. Depends on the situation. You have to evaluate. When you come to that place that whatever you do is out of love, but that means even saying no, or even not smiling, by awakening somebody to start doing something with their lives. That's how you teach. That's how you educate. That's how you create development in the life of people around you. It cannot be simple. The same as we read, Yaakov was called Yaakov because God saw that he is smart enough to cheat the evil inclination, to cheat the Yetzer Hara, the opponent. You have to be smart enough. Its life is not simple. The same thing as Rav Ashlag is saying. When you finally reach that level that you receive for the sake of sharing, what are you doing that time? Sharing is Abraham. Receiving is Isaac. How can you receive and share at the same time? Yes, sometimes you give by saying no. Sometimes you take by giving, right? You give to somebody and you take their attention. And sometimes by saying, yes, give me, you give them so much pleasure. So you learn that it's not just giving and taking. It's a picture. It's a wholesome. And that's why we need to generate what is called a desire to receive for the sake of sharing. How does that happen? It happens when a person is finding himself into a test. And what does it mean a test? Everything in life is a test. And we saw that when we read about the binding of Isaac, which is the foundation of all tests in the world. And it's not a test. Because the world, the definition is Vayelohim Nisa et Avraham. Simple translation. And God tested Abraham. Now, if God is all-knowing, He knows everything. He knows also the results of the test. And like in every function, there are functions that, square x squared plus 3x minus x equals 0. Two answers. How could there be two answers? Because you have free will. You can choose one or two. God knows both answers. He is in both answers because it's above time. He doesn't need to wait to see your reaction. And that means, do you have free will? And the answer is you do have free will because you don't know the results. That's what's important for free will. Okay? And you have both choices because God knows both choices. You choose which one is going to play in your consciousness. Why is that important? Because says the Zohar, VaElohim nisa et Avram, the word nisa does not come from the word nisayon, test, which is a simplistic translation into English. Nisayon comes from the word nes, which means a miracle. And since we are coming into the month of miracles, the month of Kislev, this is exactly the parasha for that. And what does it mean? Nisa, Abram went through a miracle. He thought, going into the binding of Isaac, that he has to pull or to put the right over the left, the chesed over the judgment. And he realized through the action that it's not like this. When he comes up to the mount, he says that he takes the knife and the fire. And as Zohar says, he takes upon himself some judgment. He started to realize that loving kindness is not full without judgment. Loving kindness without judgment is that father that he thinks he loves his son, and his son wants the sharp scissors to scratch his eyes, and the father says, how can I say no to my son? He gives the scissors, and the son scratches his eye, makes himself blind. Do you really love your son? Or you're just stupid? You're stupid. And there are a lot of people, they think they're graceful and full of love, and they're basically stupid. Right? Why? Because love needs judgment. And Abraham realized that pure love has no place in this world. It needs to come with judgment. Isaac takes the wood, but in Hebrew it's etz, and etz means the tree of life, says the Zohar. The judgment needs to take the tree of life with it. And when Abraham is binding Isaac, Abraham is creating a miracle because he's doing an active act, proactive, of overcoming judgment, but not destroying it, not suffocating it, letting it bloom, but under the conditioning of chesed. When we have a test, it's not a test, it's an opportunity to create a miracle. When we feel the reaction, when we feel Esau, when we feel the evil inclination, the dark side, awakening with, could be anger, lust, victim feeling, emotions, all kinds of stuff like that is not productive, that is not positive, that is not making you a better person, doesn't make the world a better place. When you go through that, when that happens to you, you have to put, first of all, to take all the chesed and bind Isaac, bind that judgment, shut it down, and bring in positive light. What do I mean positive light? I want the light of the Creator right now. And what does it say? Whoever comes to purify, they will help him. Who's they? Who's they? There's a lot of they in the upper worlds. But it says in Masechet Brachot, in Tractate Brachot, in the Talmud, Ein ha'asir matir et atzmo mebeit ha'asurim. The prisoner cannot untie himself from prison. He needs help from outside. When you realize that you're a prisoner of your old reactions, you shut it down and you try again and again and again, and you try to do it with what? Bringing in chesed, bringing in unconditional love, connecting and asking the light in. When the light comes in, what are you doing? VaYetse Yaakov in Be'er Sheva. You do VaYetse. You do Exodus, you get out. Same thing when God is taking Abram outside, above the stars, so you can look at the stars from above. You know, when you look at the stars from above, it doesn't look the same as you look at it from below. When you're looking at the situation right now from above, after you got out, now you can see how you can love and say no. You can take and still be giving. You can give and be taking. And you realize that all of this can come together, and from that point, from the above, VaYetse Yaakov מבאר שבע. What is באר שבע? באר שבע, the well of number 7. What is number 7? חסד, גבורה, תפארת, נצח, הוד, יסוד, מלכות. 7. Malchut is 7. Malchut is this world, number 7. באר שבע, the 7th well. Okay? Or the well of 7. Yaakov is showing us that in order for a person to manifest his calling, he needs to get out. And now he can walk. Now, if you didn't get it, Rashi makes sure to mix you up enough so you will get it. How come? And it says, Vayelech Haran, he went to go to Haran. But then the next verse 11, chapter 28 in Genesis, Vayifga b'makom vayalen sham. Oh, there are many midrashim Rashi says about what it means Vayifga b'makom. And it says basically, Vayifga b'makom, he hit the place. It doesn't say he arrived to a place. He hit the place. You don't hit places. What do you mean he hit the place? So Rashi says, he brings few midrashim, and he says, "Lelamedcha." I'm just skip a little bit. Lelamedcha shekafza lo haaretz, to teach you that he had kfitzat haderech. What do I mean kfitzat haderech? Kfitzat haderech means that the story is that he went from Beersheba to go to Haran. On the outskirts of Haran, so the midrash is saying, he said, in Haran is in Turkey, right? Southern Turkey. Like it's a long ride. It's like about maybe 1,000 miles or something like this, maybe more, from Beersheba. So it says, the midrash is saying, when he saw the first houses of Haran, he said, like, I came all the way and I passed by Mount Moriah, where my father was bound. When my grandfather bound my father, the Akedah was there, and I didn't say hello to my God. And that moment he felt regret, and he jumped. He did kfitzat haderech. What do you mean kfitzat haderech? Quantum leap. He leapt from Haran to Mount Moriah in an instant, and that's called quantum leap. Okay? By the way, whoever knows a little bit of Israeli geography, when you walk on the ancient road from Beersheba, you go up the road to Hebron, then you go what is today called Highway 60, you go through what is today the middle of Jerusalem, you pass by the Jaffa Gate, you continue north, you pass by Shechem, then Damascus, and then you go to Haran. This is the ancient road. Now the Jaffa Gate is about 5 minutes from Mount Moriah. How could Yaakov pass 5 minutes from there? He couldn't even see the place. There were no city there yet. How come he didn't think about it? Only when he sees the houses of Haran. Why does Rashi have to bring that story to mix us up? And by the way, you're like, what do you mean to leap the road, to jump the road, to have a quantum leap? What do you mean quantum leap? We're talking about the Bible. There's no quantum yet. Oh, there's no quantum yet? Oh, yes, there is. Yes, there is. Kfitzat haderech is a known trick that Kabbalists used to do, but this is not what we're talking about. The story goes on to mix us up even more, but I don't want to go into it. Yeah, I spoke about it in the previous years. But what's important is that when you make that quantum leap from the old logic that says it's impossible, it's win-lose, and so on, and you just insist, no, it has to be win-win. It has to be with the light. It has to be positive. It has to be with love and with what is my interest and where do I want to go. It has to be both. I have to be both worlds. You cannot be in both worlds. Yes, you can. Sarah just taught us, Chayei Sarah, she had a double life. A human being comes to this world to live a double life. We spoke about it last week also. Double life means that your feet have to be on the ground and your head has to be in the heaven. Why? Because you're not just a mortal. Yes, you live a life like a mortal, but you're not meant to be a mortal. Your soul is eternal, and as long as you do not connect to eternal life, you do not fulfill your calling. And as long as you don't live by your calling, you're going to suffer. Why? Because the light is not going to let you just play around like, I just want to get by. We're not here to get by. We're here to get to experience quantum leaps. And what I mean quantum leaps? When do people make quantum leaps? When do they do kfitzat haderech? When do they do VaYetse? When they are cornered to a place that you feel like you have no solution. It's like to die or to just do something that is so illogical. And that's when people do the quantum leap. Yaakov is doing a quantum leap. He gets out of Beersheba because his brother wants to kill him. Right? He has to make a difference. He has to change. He cannot be just a simple person sitting in the tent. That's very nice, but you have to get married. The problem is that your wives, you don't know you need wives. You think you're going to marry one wife, you come out with 4 of them, right? But you don't know that yet. You're Yaakov, you're prophet, you're not supposed to know the whole story. Okay? To be a husband to 4 wives and 12 children, just to be tam, to be like, an honest, nice person, and also to get those wives from the worst cheater, liar, witchcraft wizard in the world, Lavan, you can't just be a nice guy. Can't be. You have to be so smart. You have to outwit so many on the way just to get by. Why? Because the light, God will never allow you just to get by. To get by means to kill yourself. Tables get by. Pillars get by. They're just standing there. But you human beings, your calling is eternal. You have to connect to eternity, and the only way to connect to eternity is to connect to the midot. What do I mean, the midot? The traits of the Creator, which means loving, kindness, and judgment also. And all in one. All in one. Not easy. That means why not easy? Because it's not logical. And you learn that whatever was logical yesterday has no meaning today. And you have to fight to achieve the truth, which is above logic. Truth is not about logic. And how do you do that? Says Rav Ashlag, how do you lift yourself and get out of your box? They talk about it today. Because the world has so much pressure that you have to get out of the box to be successful in anything. As a husband, as a wife, as a teacher, as a businessman, as a professional somewhere. If you're not getting out of the box, you get stale, you get stuck in the box, there's no air. How do you get out of the box? Getting out of the box, first of all, you have to know the goal. The goal is to turn our selfish, egocentric character into a caring one, but not giving up about who I am. In many religions, you have to give up everything. You have to detach from your desires. It's easy. You just commit suicide and you detach from your desires. How can you do that? Oh, you become an hypocrite. No, I have no agenda. I said many times, people say they have no agenda, they will be lying for sure about everything else because they're lying to themselves. You can't have no agenda. You're human beings. And a human being has an agenda. Okay, you watch a football game, soccer game, whatever game. It's two groups you never saw before. You know what? Within a few seconds, you're already leaning to one side. How come you have no agenda? We always choose a side. You always have an agenda. Okay, remember that. And after you remember that, now how you leap above the agenda. And what is the agenda? The agenda is me, 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 me. You know, me, me, me means win, lose. Win, lose means lose, lose. There's no win, lose. Why? Because everything we go through is for one purpose, to create a miracle. And what does it mean, a miracle? A miracle is to go above our nature, to create a new nature. What's the new nature? The nature of receiving for the sake of sharing. The moment we create a desire to receive for the sake of sharing, which is I care for myself, I want to be successful. I want to make money. I want to have fame, kavod, power, whatever, so I can help more people. Each person with his limits. Okay? Which means there's nothing wrong in being successful. There's nothing wrong to have a good life. What's wrong about it? When you want it just for yourself. And when you want it to be good, you have to make sure that other people get that good also. When you do that, says Rav Ashlag, you turn your desire to receive for the self alone into the desire to receive, which is a vessel, ratzon, into tzino, the desire to receive for the sake of sharing. Now, how can you do that? And that's the message of this parasha. How can you do that? And the parasha is that Yaakov is going to Haran, but then he says, I have such a great job, I need help. He goes where? He goes to Mount Moriah, what is called today the Temple Mount. When he comes to the Temple Mount, he sleeps by that stone. Which stone? Even Ashtiyah, the drinking stone, or the foundation stone. Why? Because this is where the heaven kisses the earth. Why is that important? I'll give you an example. Being selfish is an addiction. We're all addicted. However, every addiction is terminal. It kills you finally, sooner or later. Now, why being selfish kills you? Because as we said in previous parashot, the light force, the life that you've been instilled on your birthday is limited. And as long as you're selfish, you just eliminate that light, that life force. You stay with less and less and less power. Unless you turn your nature into the desire to receive for the sake of sharing. When you do that, you get closer, you get attached to the Creator. You get attached to the infinity. And when you get attached to the infinity, that infinite light streams into you. How do you do that? You get out of the box. You get out into a world in which it's okay to be loving and caring, and you don't see any contradiction by being generous and making money, being powerful and being gracious, being loving and caring, and at the same time making sure that your interests are not being hurt. For a lot of people, this is impossible. It's like, for a lot of people, they get, the fuses are popping. Just how could I do this and this? Because you are in the box. That's why it's impossible. You have to get out of the box. Whereas the more you are training yourself, being that person and getting out of the box, the more it becomes possible. Now, how do you do that? One of the most successful program fighting people's addictions is the 12-step program. Alcoholics Anonymous, or whatever you call it, in any kind of addiction. As I said, everybody's addicted to their own desire to receive for the self alone. That's a worse addiction. When this addiction becomes worse, then you find yourself into small addictions. The addiction for drugs, the addiction for food, the addiction for, caring for others, sex, money, whatever. These are the sideways addictions. It's not the real addiction. The real one is selfishness. There's no big addiction to that. But how do you get over addiction? First of all, the 12-stage program says you must acknowledge a higher power. That's what Yaakov is teaching us. You want to get out of the box, you have to call, connect, and want the help of the higher power. Without it, you're finished. There's no way you'll get out of the box. He goes to Jerusalem, he goes to the Temple Mount, he goes to Mount Moriah, he goes to that stone because he wants a connection to the higher power, to the higher world, to Olam Haba. The Olam Haba is always here, but it's easier to tap into it in Jerusalem. For thousands of years, millions and millions of people made the journey to Jerusalem. Why? To experience what the psychologists are calling the Jerusalem syndrome. How is it explained? The Jerusalem syndrome is that people come to Jerusalem, and you want to know what? I live in Jerusalem. People say Jerusalem is beautiful. No, it's not. If you look with the physical eyes, Paris is much more beautiful. The cathedrals in Paris, the museums are so much beautiful than any building in Jerusalem. There are so many other cities that are so much more beautiful. But yes, Jerusalem is the most beautiful place on earth. Because the beauty of Jerusalem is not its stones. It's the energy within the stones. The euphoric feeling that is illogical, that people experience when they come to Jerusalem, is beyond explanation. That's why it's a psychological phenomenon. Few hundreds of them every year get off board and become drunk. And then there's a special place to hospitalize them in the entrance to the Jerusalem to be sedated and then being shipped back home. Okay? But the rest keep coming. And why do they keep coming? Because that feeling you cannot get anywhere. Not in Paris, not in New York, not in Washington, not in Sedona, Arizona. I'm sorry, guys. You have to come to Jerusalem. Whoever made many trips to Sedona, Arizona, you live in California, and you think that you've seen it all. No, you're not. Till you've been in Jerusalem, you don't know. What does it mean to tap the heavens? A lot of people cannot stand Jerusalem because they can't get out of the box. They're afraid of it. You know why? It's like a lot of people are afraid of the number 13. You know why they're afraid of the number 13? Because 13 is out of the box. The box is number 12. This is nature. That's why when we continue the story, and Jacob is getting married to Rachel and Leah and their half-sisters, and he brings 12 sons to the world. It's all in this parasha. Why 12? 12 signs of the zodiac. Why 12 signs of the zodiac? Because the 12 signs of the zodiac symbolize the box. Everybody has his born innate nature. This is your box. This is your zodiac chart. And God took Abram out of the box, outside. Look at it from above. Look at it from above and everything will be different. And it became different. And Abram realized he can do things that no human could ever do before. He realized there's no limitation, only logic. Your logic is your limitation. Whatever humanity can dream, humanity can do. Dream it and you can do it. Right? And these people who had the dream, they pulled all humanity behind them, after them. A lot of people are afraid to get out of the box. One above the box is number 13. And number 13 is a magical number of a miracle in Hebrew. Because number 13 is the number for the word echad, one. When you take all the 12 tribes and unite them together, and they like each other, and they complement each other, instead of arguing who's right, you call it brainstorming. You call it unity. What does it mean? I see things the way you cannot see it. So I listen to you, I tell you my side, and together, all of us, it's not looking with 2 eyes, is looking with 24 eyes and 12 brains. And companies that are doing brainstorming, they make more money and they have better abilities to get out of a crisis than companies that have one-sided mind. This is known scientifically. When you get out of 12 and you become one, you turn all of them into one. Echad. Echad is 13. Aleph is 1. Chet is 8. Dalit is 4. Altogether, 13. 13 is also love. Ahava. Because loving somebody, really loving somebody, means that you love that person as you love yourself. This is a miracle. You have to get out of yourself to love somebody else. And you know what? Rav Ashlag is saying, when you get out of yourself and you learn to love other people, you're going to meet God over there on the way. Because that's a quantum leap. Love is a quantum leap. That's why the number 13 scares so many people. They cannot get out of the box. That's why Jerusalem scares so many people. They're afraid to get out of the box. They're afraid to feel the other world. They're afraid to lose it. To lose what? The dungeon. Knowing, I hate this world, I love this world, I do this is right, this is wrong. This is not what life is about. So how do you do that? First of all, Jacob is teaching us. By the way, you don't have be always in Jerusalem to get out of the box. But all the sages are saying, when you pray, when you meditate, with your mind, go to Jerusalem and then leap over to the heavens. In all the 3 monotheistic big religions, the gate to heaven is in Jerusalem. Ask all the Muslims. Their prophet Muhammad, he didn't go to heaven from Mecca. He had to come to Jerusalem to go to heaven, right? And if you ask about Christians, where their prophet, whatever they believe in, went up to heaven from Jerusalem, not from Damascus or somewhere else, not from Nazareth, and not from Bethlehem. He went to heaven from Jerusalem. Because that's the gate. As it says in this parasha, as Jacob is saying, this is the gate of heavens. Why the gate of heavens? Oh, it's very interesting to know where's the gate of heavens. You want to get out of the box, you need the help from heavens. You need the help from the upper world. You need the help from the higher power, from the endless light. If you don't ask for it, you don't get it. But there's another secret Rav Ashlag is telling us. So why does he need 12 sons? Because you need a community. There are 2 traits, 2 things you need to do in order to get out of the box. 1, the connection to the light above. Without it, forget it. You cannot get out of the box. 2, you need loving friends and community that will push you there, that will train you and coach you, that will believe in you, that you can get out of the box. You need a community. You cannot do it by yourself. It's almost impossible. Why? Human beings cannot accumulate enough power and energy to get out of the box. You need a group. It takes a village. And when you live together with people and you learn together with people that push each other, then you can lift. You have enough power for a liftoff, so you can get out of the box. And when you get out of the box, you meet the other world. You understand how stupid was your previous logic, but you can't understand it before you get out of it. So life is an eternal journey of getting out, up, and above in order to create a better us. So finally we can reach that place that we can experience heaven on earth. And then we simply do our purpose. We live our purpose. And there's nothing but that. And all is in here. So good luck to everyone. Chodesh Tov. Have a month of miracles because there's a helping from heaven. Because the letter of this month are Samich for Sagittarius, Gimel for Jupiter, and Samich Gimel is Binah which is the level above our world. That's the Olam Haba. We have so much help in this month to have leaps, quantum leaps, and to jump out of the box. This is the month to do it, and that's why it culminates with Hanukkah, because Binah is the 8th level, 8 days of Hanukkah. It's all there, and we learn more about it when we learn about Hanukkah. So, have a miracles all over, a month full of miracles, and Shavua Tov, Chodesh Tov to all of us.